Well, hello YouTube, and welcome to a little Friday night live streaming. That's right. I'm going to enjoy myself in this one. Cheers to you. Something I can't do on television that I can do here on YouTube. Crack a beer on a Friday night and talk Sharks. Right? Oh, the thought. Oh, the concept. 4-1 tonight in Minnesota, the first of two back-to-back in the land of 10,000 lakes. And gotta say right off the top, when the Sharks play a team like Arizona or a team like Minnesota this season, the first thing that I think is obvious, but it goes through my mind, and I think about it during the game and after the game, is that teams like Minnesota, teams like Arizona are the ones that you're going to fight for a playoff spot in 2021. And it's not to automatically assume that Colorado's in, St. Louis is in, and Las Vegas is in the West. But, let's be honest, those teams, they shape up the right way, and it would be a surprise if any one of those three teams isn't in the playoffs in the very end. So realistically, the other five teams fighting for that one playoff spot. 10-minute timer has been set, as you know. As you may know from watching these videos, I tend to go way longer than 10 minutes. But that's where I have to start with the buzzer. I also want to, enjoy my time here with this lovely IPA. Now, there were double IPAs and even a triple IPA, 2 triple IPAs in my fridge. I decided to go responsibly here on a Friday night live streaming with just the single IPA. That is good. All right, so we can talk about the game specifically tonight. We can talk about trends with the Sharks after 5 games. If you think about it, you're getting close to being 10% done with your regular season. The small fraction, the beginning part, yes, it's important, but it's also the part where I would expect things to be a little still disoriented. No exhibition games. Hadn't played in 10 months. And at some point, that whole train of thought is going to have to disappear. Not yet, right? But I want to keep bringing this up now while it's still relevant. 20 games in, those two things I just said aren't relevant anymore because everybody's been playing, and at that point, you're really going to see what teams are made of. But again, it's the Arizonas, it's the Minnesotas, and heck, I don't know. Maybe it's an Anaheim that really surprises this year. Maybe it's a Los Angeles Kings that find a way to make a push. And hopefully the Sharks are in that conversation too. So it's all these other teams. When you go head-to-head against them, these are, every game being a division game, these are the ones that dictate if you're in or not at the very end. So the Minnesota Wild, look, they're 4-1-0 now, and they scored in all 3 periods tonight. That being said, was it a 4-1 game? Was it that final score right there for you? Because for me, it wasn't. In some ways it was, but overall it wasn't. Who was the better team? Yeah, probably Minnesota. Did the Sharks, though, especially in the first period, did they look as crisp as they have all season? I think so. And it's weird to say because they never necessarily benefited from that, right? They never had a lead in this game. So looking good and getting the result, clearly two different things. But that's encouraging, right? The Sharks, having some chemistry in different areas. Like when Evander Kane at the end of that first period, when he did feed Tomas Hertl backdoor, and it was a great effort. It would have taken everything to go right to finish that play and Hertl's score. But that's the type of timing and chemistry stuff that only comes when players are together for games and games and games. And no matter how many they've ever played before, that's the kind of stuff where you're saying, all right, this is what the team's capable of. But again, you play the first 20 minutes, and after they score first, and the Joel Eriksson Ek-Tip play right out front, that's another time where the Sharks are allowing the opposition to camp out, to loiter right in front of their goalie. And it's hard. Look at the 2 goals that Devan Dubnyk allowed, and that's a whole nother factor. Here's a guy making his homecoming, wants to win, his family's there, wants to make a personal statement to the Minnesota Wild. And the score ends up 4-1. He's only in there for 2 of them. And as far as I'm concerned, if he allows only 2 or fewer, he did his job tonight. If you're the Sharks, you end up with that one. How are you planning to win with that one? Right? So a little bit of a scoring rut and drought. And I realized that last game in St. Louis was defensive-minded, defensive-themed. I don't mind that. But in a game like tonight, the Sharks weren't able to consistently be dangerous. I really feel like their first period was their best. Second period, I'm not saying it got away from them, but the first and third periods definitely contrasted each other. Interesting first period specifically for Erik Karlsson, in that he was on the ice when Eriksson Ek got that tip play. And I think Bob Boughner talked afterwards about a little miscommunication with he and Timo Meier. So he was on the ice for that, but then a couple minutes later, it got absolutely leveled into the glass. Somehow, not a penalty, even though he drew blood. But I love the way he rebounded after that, because he's the player that fed Matt Nieto for the Long Beach Natives' first goal of this hockey season. Can I say Long Beach Native one more time? Long Beach Native a couple more times. So it's great to have Nieto on the score sheet here in 2021. And quite honestly, that's a matter of what you'd like to see. Yeah, probably at the least every 5 games he gets a goal. It'd be greater if it were the margin and the ratio were a lot less. But it's good to see a player like Matt Nieto score. At this point, though, you're looking for some of your top players, which haven't had a goal in a couple games, or more of your third and fourth line, or more of your defensemen who haven't chipped in a goal yet. But again, from the team standpoint, you score one. How often is that going to get you the result that you wanted? Yeah, and the answer is obvious. It's not a lot. You need some hockey ambiance here. Is that what you need? I got sound effects for days, by the way. Was it raining earlier? Here, I got one for this, too. We got too many things going on here at once. All right. So, a 4-1 game. Did it feel like 4-1? No. Those 2 empty netters at the end totally changed the story. And because of that, the Wild get goals in all 3 periods. But no doubt they were the better team. And this is something that the Sharks are going to have to figure out, how to either continue ramping up into games like this that they can win. I do like the fact that the Sharks, with the exception maybe of the second Arizona game, they've been in all of them, right? Tonight's no different. I mean, the 4-1 thing, that's not indicative of a majority of the minutes of tonight's game. They were in it. They just couldn't find a way to win. But at some point, you're going to obviously have to capitalize on these results. Almost is not going to get you. It's not going to get you where you want to be. And the other thing I do have to mention here is that even with the Sharks' 2 wins they do have in the bank, both of them came in shootout fashion, meaning that the opposition on those nights also tallied a point. So in all 5 of the games they've played, a point has been at least received by the opponent, or in tonight's case, 2 of them. So I talked about Karlsson a little bit, feeding Nieto. I know it was still not maybe the game that Karlsson wanted. I think everybody's looking at his last game in St. Louis as kind of the benchmark of what they're hoping to see. I wrote down here the Marleau, Nieto, and Sorensen line together. Those guys, and obviously Nieto with the goal, but there was some real chemistry there. I like the veteran makeup and aspect of that line. That should be one that if you're Bob Boughner, you can put together, and you pretty much know what you're going to expect. Now, what's their role? How are they defined? There should be some speed there, some gritty play. Sorensen scored last game. We know what Patty's capable of. It would be great to see him just get one under his belt, and let's see where that takes him. See where that goes in terms of streakiness. But I like the way that line played, especially early on. I think the note I wrote down here was in the second period. That's kind of when I saw them the most. Another thought here is how many block shots the Minnesota Wild had tonight. And I think the number was 28. They blocked 28 Sharks shots. And if you look up and down the stat sheet, there wasn't one player who had 6 or 7. I mean, I think the highest was maybe 2 or 3. So it was like 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2. Everybody on that team tonight, almost everybody blocked a shot. That's I mean, you don't see that very often in opportunity or execution. But that's amazing. And the thing I want to point out about it is the point. Point shots, as in Bernsey and Erik Karlsson tonight, each had 5 shots blocked. Now, look, they're trying to be aggressive, and the offense for San Jose runs through those points. And that's kind of a known strategy of the Sharks. I mean, that's one of their strong points. And as long as the Sharks are getting pucks through, there's opportunities for not only those shots to be effective, but rebounds they produce, tips that the Sharks are able to take advantage of. So, it for me, it harkens back to the 2016 Stanley Cup Final. And one of the things that Pittsburgh did so well, and was frustrating, is they did that same thing to Brent Burns. They limited his shots in getting through. And because of that, Bernsey wasn't able to connect with Joe Pavelski like he had all playoffs. Pavelski then was essentially rendered a lot less effective, and the Sharks just couldn't get any consistent offense in that Stanley Cup Final. Excuse me for 1 second. Yeah, that's not bad. And so we saw that tonight. And that's the thing, right? You're going to see the Minnesota Wild again on Sunday. If you're San Jose, how do you counter? If you're Minnesota, how do you try and do that again? Because obviously it was effective. So, can I talk about... Oh, there's my 10-minute timer. So look, I'm going to go a couple minutes longer. It's just going to happen. Kirill Kaprizov. Can we talk about him for a second? Did he try and go between his legs tonight and score a goal while he was being, pretty well defended by Marcus Sorensen? You know what? A fun player to watch. I mean, how much have we seen of him in the NHL? Like a week's worth. But he had the 3-point night as his NHL debut. And I think he's 23 years old, but he's been in the KHL for like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, 3 or 4 years, probably 3 or 4 years. So it's not like he's, fresh into professional hockey. It's not like he hasn't been playing against high-level competition already in his life. He has, but he's that young. But to come to the NHL and when Hertl did it, he was not defended. He'd already scored 3 goals. What's the difference? Here's Kaprizov doing it in a 1-goal game. So a credit to him. The execution was there. It was as good as as soon as he went through the skates, it was as good as maybe any other shot or chance he had at beating Devan Dubnyk. But yeah, that was wow. Didn't expect that. Didn't see that one coming. And going real quick back to Dubnyk here. That's 2 games now that and the other one that he started was against Arizona. And I think that was at the game they had the 4-goal second period. And I just looked at all the goals and said, it's a hard time faulting Dubnyk and saying that was soft. Same thing with the 2 that he allowed tonight. One was the tip by Eriksson Ek. The other one was the Zach Parise rebound. Nick Bjugstad had the shot, and Parise, again, Parise right out front with time and space and the puck and the opportunity right on the doorstep. And so those are the moments. That was a little disjointing on the soundboard there. Those are the moments, though, where you have to, defensively look at it and say, how can we help our goalie? How can we not allow that chance to happen? Because that's the kind of stuff right there that clearly is a difference in tonight's game. I mean, take away the 2 doorstep chances that they had. Look, if they're going to beat you, if they're going to fire off a couple one-timers and beat you that way, or somebody's going to have a well-earned breakaway, and, it's just rough that the 2 goals that really mattered, and those were the 2 that mattered most. The empty netters were just situational. Sharks were trying to, have their extra attacker. It's unfortunate that they were scored from a 2 feet distance away in situations that, you look back and wish you had another chance to defend. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Sharks were up against it in a lot of ways and still are. 8-game road trip to start the season. I feel like the Sharks are playing against somebody else's home opener every single time they play them. Was the case for Arizona, was the case for St. Louis, was the case tonight for the Minnesota Wild, and it's an uphill battle. So I'm not asking them to, after 5 games and with a couple more here on this road trip, I'm not saying you need to be perfect. But the next game on Sunday is huge, because if you lose this, now you're 2-4, you're still stuck on 4 points. Minnesota gets all the points out of this meeting. And again, I talked about the importance of them and Arizona as teams vying for a fourth playoff spot, maybe a third playoff spot. I don't know. But that's kind of this is where playing a 500 road trip can get away from you. If they finish these first 8 games, if you come out with 4 wins out of these, now it's tough, right? You need to win two of the next 3 to make that happen. But if you can do that, all things considered, large success. If you don't get this one, then you're probably struggling just to get 3 wins out of your first 8 games. So Sunday is imperative. The bad news is, you have to make a move. You have to be that good on Sunday. Good news is, based on tonight, I don't think they were that far away from it. They weren't an unreachable distance away from doing what they need to do. All right, I feel guilty because I have not even looked at the questions and comments yet. Aw, geez, this guy again. Well, come on, Teal Town, you tuned into this, right? You knew what you were getting when you clicked on this. What do you need? Some more sound effects? Wait. Is that what you need? All right, I messed up my screen here. The Sharks passed way too much in this game. Zach saying that. And I think that's when you're trying to score. The same thing happens in basketball, too. You try and get too pretty. You look for that perfect shot. You're trying to make that extra pass. Instead of taking what you have when you have it, maybe a chance for a rebound, maybe goalie makes a mistake, you get one through. Get those shots when and where you can. For Rando's Tube, early season excuses got us in trouble last year. Minnesota does have an issue. I thought the Sharks played well, didn't deserve the win. And that's I think that's the fair statement here. Did the Sharks deserve to win tonight? Not making that comment at all. Just saying that 4-1 is not indicative of the game. 2-1 probably feels a lot more like it. Let's see what other comment. Grow the beard. I think this hair is catching enough attention for the time being. I think we'll have to leave it on that for a while. Big contract players need to start producing. I don't disagree, and I think that the Sharks are a very distinct team in the veteran players and some with bigger contracts than others. I know fans love talking about contracts and what a team invests in, and it does have meaning. I do not intend to take away the meaning of that. Let's not make it about money doesn't matter. The commitment, especially in a salary cap league, it absolutely matters what players you can have and which ones, you put out there on a regular basis. But I'm taking it more from the veteran and roles that they're in and ice time they get. And if you're going to get these opportunities, it's time to do something with them. And I don't want to put, in terms of top players for San Jose, I don't want to put the entire focus on that right now, because the first handful of games, that's really all the Sharks had, their top 6 forwards. And since then, that has kind of cooled off a little bit. Now, one thing I have to say, and I talked a little bit about Dubnyk, and I feel frustrated for him that the 2 games he's been in, he played much better than the final score would reflect. Was that a 5-4 loss, I think, in Arizona? See, we're 5 games in and I can't even remember all the games yet. It was that one, and then tonight, 4-1 final score. He was only in there for 2 of them. But him and Jones, really with the exception of one game in Arizona, the second game that got away from him, honestly, the goaltending I haven't seen a lot of soft goals. I haven't seen a lot of head in your lap goals. I haven't seen those. I have seen the moments where I'm like, he's right out front. This ain't good. I've seen that, but I can't necessarily say that that goaltending has been, a frustration point. So that in itself is good. Now you just got to help those guys out. And how many Sharks had a couple power play opportunities? Yeah, 2 in the first, another one in the third period, in the second period. I think now that's 2 straight games where they didn't get a power play goal, where they had one in all the respective games before that. So look, scoring's going to come and go, and I think, let me just say this. I know there's always a lot of comments about Erik Karlsson. Let me put it this way with EK65. What I think you hope for, and stop me if you can't stop me, never mind. I apologize if I said this the other night, but the more I really let this soak in, the more I realize it. What you're hoping is that his defense cannot slump and stay at a solid level, and that he can be a foundational defensive piece for your team, right? He's going to log that much ice time, and if that's the tone you need to set, so you need a steadying defensive force out there. Now, it's okay if the assists and the points and the production, if they're not there on a nightly basis, or if they come and they go. Offense, in hockey, very similar to baseball. Comes and goes. You can explain it sometimes. You can see it coming. Sometimes you can see it going away. And really the same thing goes for the entire San Jose Sharks. Scoring comes and goes in this league. That's not new, right? But defense doesn't have to slump. I mean, it's not to say that you're not going to get burned on occasion, or there's going to be miscommunication, or it just like other teams are really good. This is a high talent league. I'm just saying that you can hope to avoid huge fluctuations in your defense versus stuff that maybe you can't control offensively. So I don't like to single out any one player in that conversation, but I will say this: if you're looking at Karlsson with a hyper focus right now, yeah, for me it's this: just play good defense on a regular basis, and I can't wait to see the offense come around. If you do that, I think everybody would be in good shape. Ricardo Dominguez, loving the hair. Hey, there you go. The boy band hair continues. So how do you think Doobie played, and how did Donato play? You know what? And Donato had a scoring chance. I know those guys wanted to do so well tonight, and I imagine that as soon as the schedule came out and as soon as they saw Minnesota was on the first road trip in Minnesota and their home opener, look, how many people watching this have ever been traded? I doubt many of you have. I've never been traded for somebody or something, but I do know that there have been situations in life where I have a chip on my shoulder because something happened and somebody didn't believe in me or the production I was working on, and and because of that, right? You have that chip on your shoulder and you want to show them what's up, right? So I don't know if there was any ill feelings with Donato and Dubnyk, but I do think they wanted to prove it. Again, Donato was very close to scoring tonight. Dubnyk allowed 2 goals. So I don't think those guys specifically have anything necessarily to regret. Hey, while I'm here, I'm going to get really fancy here for a second if I could. Can I ask you to follow me on some of these social channels? I feel like the music is a little bit too loud right now, but I'll talk over it. Follow me on the social channels. If you're already not subscribing here on YouTube, why are you watching this and you're not subscribing? What do I have to do to earn your subscription? It'd be fantastic if you would subscribe. All right. Are there any other more comments? I would love to get to a couple more here before I sign off on this Friday night, and I am embarrassingly like maybe halfway with this thing. That's it. How long has this stream been going? 24 minutes. You got to do better, Brazil. Come on. You know what I should do? I should do like the thumbnail freeze, like See? And then you get that freeze frame, and that'll be the thumbnail for this video. You know what's crazy? I was thinking about this the other day. You know, in journalism school, like back when I was in it, not that I'm a journalist now, but, you know, they would teach you how to write a story. They would teach you how to edit stuff. In journalism school now, do they teach you like, well, here's how to make a good YouTube thumbnail? It's crazy. It really, really is crazy. Let me see what else is going on here in the live chat. And if there's not much, then I think I will be done. Hey, Brody, love the channel and the Sharks and A's coverage. Thank you very much, Logan. Appreciate that. Based on the little piece of the Sharks season that we've seen, do you think that we're better than last season and playoff chances? And that, you know what, Logan, that's kind of been my overarching theme here, I guess, of this video is trying to see how you shape up with Arizona and a team like Minnesota. And, you know, fortunately, there's a lot more meetings left, 8 total, so 7 more against Minnesota. This is what we're going to find out here pretty soon. I think I said at the 30-game mark this year, we'd know. We'd know where the Sharks are going to eventually end up. And part of it's because it's a short season and you need to get off to a respectable start. But I think we'll have enough of a track record on them, after 30 games, slightly past the halfway point of this season. Do I think they're better? Let me answer that. Yes, I do. Last year, because of a lot of different things, unraveled, and it went quick. And then injuries happened. And then before that, a coaching change happened. I mean, there was so many negatives happening at once that there was just no chance for recovery. I don't, you know, and again, I've been interested to see this team through adversity because I want to see them take adversity and turn it. I want to see them pivot on adversity. So I know that they're the right group, that they've got it, that there's some fire there to turn things around. So they haven't really, I mean, you know, 2-3-0, haven't lost a bunch in a row, but they've been in, like I said, all but maybe one of these games. They've had every chance to win, 4 out of 5 in my opinion. So I think in a lot of ways they are, but not enough to obviously be a 3-2-0 team, or like the Minnesota Wild, a 4-1-0 team. Just not where they're at. Mario saying tough game for the Sharks. They had plenty of chances. You know, enough chances probably. Enough to score more than one. No doubt. All right. I think folks are saying goodnight. Do the Sharks need to be more gritty? Gritty with quotation marks from Dylan. You know, I think a singular identity would not be a bad thing for this team. Being hard to play against, that's a great compliment. You'll love to have that as your reputation. But what is the one thing you do? What is the one thing that the Sharks would be known for to be hard to play against? And if I ask you, like right now, what's the Sharks' calling card? What do they base their entire game around? I don't know what that is. There's a couple different things it could be, but I don't know what that one thing that they would be known for is. So can they evolve? Can they hone in on one thing? Can they, like, if they win 3 games in a row and it's because they had 2 power play goals in every game? Okay. Strong effort, drawing these penalties, capitalizing on them, man advantage is going well, great. Or let's say they win a trio of 2-1, 3-1, 1-0 game, right? Get a shutout. Then I'm thinking, all right, they are locking down defensively. But there hasn't been one consistent. They've done a lot of different things well, but there hasn't been the one thing they do really, really well over and over and over, and that's how they win games. So I would be interested to see that. What are you most excited about for the future of the Sharks? You know, to be honest, at this point, it depends how far in the future you're talking about. Are you talking about later this year, next year, 5 years down the road? There is one thing I want to say, and I don't know how far off Ryan Merkley is and how he's going to progress. Like, let's not put, put the cart before the horse. Let's not do that way too far in advance. But at some point, if you could have Merkley and Mario Ferraro, as up-and-coming D-men, that's a pretty solid foundation of your franchise. So that's a long term. Mario's obviously already here. Mario's playing top 4 minutes. Who knows, how far away Merkley is, but there you go. Ozzy Weisblatt, I know that's another name people are very high on, and they're expecting to see him in seasons sooner than later. Maybe even as soon as next year. I don't know. So far it's close, but I would have to give the edge to Jones for the starting job. Ryan saying that, and I don't disagree. Again, I find it really hard to look at Devin Dubnyk's 2 starts and see a lot that I didn't like in him. I don't like the scoreboard, but I don't like the way that chances were allowed by San Jose. So, and I think somebody else said this, and we answered the question on pregame live tonight about, are the Sharks settling in defensively, and should defense be easier to come by than offense because defense is more of a will position and being a forward is more of a skill position. And my only response, and this is coming from the TV guy, not the hockey guy, right? The TV perspective. The Sharks' defensive issues don't always center around the defensemen, right? It's the 3 other forwards on the ice and their responsibilities. And sometimes those breakdowns are what makes the team struggle without the puck. It's not necessarily the defenseman all the time. Sometimes, yeah, everybody has a hand in this. Don't get me wrong. It's not to isolate. In fact, it's just to include everybody in team defense. AppG22 going 50-50 on the road for a team that hasn't been home for a long time. I'd be happy with that. It'll be interesting to see how the season shifts once they can come home. And I'm really hoping for these guys. I'm really hoping, and this is going to be my final thought here. I'm really hoping that at some point this weekend, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm looking at it logistically. Like February 1st is right around the corner. I'm hoping at some point they can soon find out when they get to come back to California, when they get to come back to San Jose. Now, I'm not going to sit here and argue what the county's doing in the health department and what they're trying to protect. These are unprecedented times, right? And I actually don't think, in terms of a game-to-game basis, right, on the actual ice, on gameplay issues, it doesn't matter if the Sharks' home games are in San Jose, if they're in Glendale, Arizona, or the frickin' moon. Once the game gets going and the Sharks have last change, it doesn't matter. But it's all the off-the-ice stuff. It's all the time in between stuff. That's what does matter. And that makes a big difference because as long as you're still in a hotel, right? The Sharks have been on, pretty soon here. It's the 22nd of January. Most of these guys now have been on the road for a solid 3+ weeks. It's soon to be a month straight. It wears on you. Have you ever spent a month away from your house? It's crazy, right? The simple things. Your own bed. Your family. Your own food. Your car, your favorite couch, things that make you comfortable, things that make you happy. Like I realize that a lot of fans, you look at the road as a glamorous part of professional sports. And when you're new to this, it's fun. Yeah, of course. Hey, and not in a pandemic. Like, this is not fun. You can't even leave your hotel room. Ask the Washington Capitals. You can't even visit another player in their hotel room. You can't congregate. The league doesn't want this. But normally, yeah, are you kidding me? We're in New York City tonight on a Friday night. Game's done at, 10 o'clock. I'm still up for another couple hours. Let's go have some fun. I mean, these are things that are part of the NHL life. But right now, that's not a part of it. And they just want to come home. Think about anybody with a family or kids. It's hard. No human is designed to be on the road playing professional sports for a month straight. The longest road trips in this league are like, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks. I know I've been on one. Well, I've been on a couple, but I've been on the longest one was 12 days, 10 days, 12 days, something like that. So that's nothing like a month, which is what they've done. And we're not pretty soon. Well, I'm not done saying that, or I'm not done commenting about that because I don't know when this is over. Wouldn't it be nice if this weekend, if the county could come out and give the Sharks a finite answer? And maybe it's better that they haven't already. The county didn't just shut down the Sharks 2 weeks ago and said, nope, not doing it. At least everybody's playing this out to see what the options are. We know how the pandemic works in a sense of predictions. Predictions are hard. You don't know what, for the better or worse, you don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know how the next week's going to turn out. You have an idea and a hope, but nobody, truly knows for sure. So, and the other thing is this, I only want the Sharks to come home for the family aspect, for the player aspect, for the personal life aspect. It's not like anybody's going to be going to a game anytime soon. Realistically, like I said, it's not like the Sharks during a game have, what's the advantage? They get to play their music, they get to skate through the Shark Head, but there's no fans. How weird is that going to be for the first time? Have you thought about that? Coming out of the Shark Head to just music. Whoa. Do I have... No, I don't have... You know what I don't have? If I play the entrance song, I'll probably get in trouble. All I have is a goal horn. And the old goal song. Right? But I mean, can you imagine? Dun, dun, dun. Can you imagine like that scene? That is going to be weird. I mean, it's going to happen. These guys are going to get back to California at some point. So again, all right, I've rambled way too much. I apologize for that. Went way over my time limit here. And I'm ready to close it out. I'm ready to just end this show. I don't know why I'm using the NBC music a lot here, aren't I? I'm just in the mood for Sharks hockey. Let me give this to you one more time. There you go. Subscribe, like, follow, comment, da-da-da-da-da. I feel like this beer might be taking more effect. And on that note, it's getting time for me to sign off. I don't have this music memorized. Doom, doom, doom. But I know it's going to come to an end soon. So with that said, I'm signing off here on a Saturday. Be safe, everybody. No, it's Friday. I'll see you Sunday. Dummy. Bye.